I'm Brother Thomas Harris the third, and I am the facilitator for the SundayGorilla Men's Bible Study. We're deep in the middle of a new series called Got Saved, Now What? And we left off part 3 talking about Jesus saying that He and the Father God are spirit, and those, the true worshipers, us today, must worship in spirit and in truth. And we made a distinction between spiritual and religious. Where Nicodemus, back in chapter 3, Nicodemus was a religious man, but he did not understand the things Jesus was talking about, because Jesus was talking about spiritual things. So now we know that God is spirit, and we must worship Him in spirit and in truth. And with spirituality comes spiritual principles. And it's just like, this is a cap off my water. And I throw the cap up and it comes down. Right? I throw it up, it comes down. and look, it continues to go down. Like it hit the desk, but it continues to go down if there's nothing there. And that's because the cap, in this atmosphere that I am, is yielding to the laws or the principles of physics, of nature. You understand? There's laws to everything. And spiritual laws have certain properties to them. Just like the cap, when I throw it up, or an apple or falls off a tree, it comes down. Those are laws of physics, laws of nature. Spiritual laws have principles and effects to them. And since we were told by Jesus that He's spirit, God is spirit, and the true worshipers must worship Him in spirit, then it's an importance that we dig into the definition and understanding of spiritual principles. And I want to share a couple more scriptures with you that I found, and the reason I paused, because I'm jumping around in the book. But in the beginning, 3 years ago, I couldn't jump around. I had to read the book. I had to read the book, the Bible, which we talked about in this first segment. But I'll tell you again that we're saying that the Bible is God speaking to us. That is our relationship with God. It's from His Word. And how does that happen? How do words affect me? You know, you might say, well, how do words? Think spiritual. Right? Remember, Nicodemus said, well, how could I be born again? Well, how could I read this change me? Think spiritual. Right? These words are spiritual. God is spiritual. So by you reading Him, the transformation is spiritual. Once again, spirit, you can't, right? You can't see it, right? But you can still grasp it. And it can grasp you. It manifests, its actions will come out. All right, I want to jump to Matthew chapter 5. In Matthew chapter 5, Jesus, once again, is explaining some of these spiritual principles that seem foreign to us. And in chapter 5, verse 16, Jesus says, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify Father in heaven." So your light, right? Your light is who you are, right? We're born again now, so the Spirit of God is going to come through us. People are going to watch us. So just like, you got born again, it didn't seem like anything changed physically. You still got to walk out to church. You still got to go to the job. You still got to go home and cook. But there were ways in which we did those simple things that will be affected by the Spirit. Like something as simple as walking down the street. Right? How many of us, let me get another cat, walk down the street, right? Eat something, finish it, had a wrapper, right? And just threw it on the street. Just threw it on the ground. You see? Spiritual principles that say, no, I'm not going to litter another man's property. Right? They'll introduce in the most subtle and simplest ways. It'll change the way I walk down the street. It'll definitely change the way I talk. How many of us on the daily curse everybody out or gotta this and be on the job, man? The spiritual introduction to spiritual principles change the way I talk. It will yearn in me, it would poke me to desire to be, once again, spirit, to be more like the Spirit. God is a spirit, and those who worship in spirit and truth. So if I truthfully seek God in His Word and worship Him truthfully, the Spirit, His Spirit, my spirit, become one in the way I talk. You see, the Spirit's almost like a conscience. Right? I want to be a reflection of my spirit, reflection of God. So it changes the way I talk because I don't want to be harsh to people. So in chapter 5, verse 39, Jesus says, "But I tell you, not to resist an evil person. But whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also." And I'm trying not to laugh. But Jesus says, if someone slaps you, well, offer him the other one. This is one of those hard spiritual principles where you really understand. It's almost like being born again, going in your mother's womb. The spiritual principles, that's what they are. They're so different than the physical. Somebody slaps me nowadays, and I heard somebody on the bus one day, and the lady was telling her son, if someone put their hands on you, hit him. Someone hit you, you hit him back. And you better not come home and tell me you didn't hit him. You see? There's people talking about what's wrong with society. Spiritual principles are not comfortable to us. Spiritual principles, many of them sound ludicrous to us. But those of you who got the old Bible, I got the old one and the new one, these spiritual principles are written in red. That means Jesus said it. Pastor so-and-so didn't just say it. Jesus said it. The SundayGorilla didn't just say it. Jesus said it. He said that him and his Father are spirit, and if those true, if you're really not faking this thing, you will practice, you will be a true worshiper, you will manifest spiritual principles, right? You will worship in spirit and truth, okay? So we can't get mad at principles when it says, turn the cheek, all right? And we try to edit it, we say, well, don't be no fool. Well, before you start thinking if you were a fool, turn the cheek. Spiritual principles are not easy to comprehend at first. Well, I'll say they're not easy to comprehend at first if you keep comparing them to your old ways. I told my kids that somebody put their hands on them, they better bust them up. No. What does Jesus say? Because if you follow spiritual principles on a daily basis, there's a good chance that they won't even be in that conversation. that the evilness will be deflected in a different direction. Spiritual principles. Jesus said it. It's written in red. It's more than what the pastor or the SundayGorilla Bible study says. Spiritual principles. These are hard truths that we must break through to move forward. Got saved. What do I do now? I must grasp on to spiritual principles. And we'll get into some more next episode.